saying Solar is in better shape. I would tend to agree with that, but maybe SpeCial can cause an upset.
Yeah, we'll find out as we are now loading into game number 1 of this best-of-3 series. The map we're starting on is Grassband. Here we go, spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner from Mexico. Playing with the Red Terran SCVs, we have SpeCial.
And in the upper left, in the blue, our Korean Zerg player. Everybody make some noise here for Solar.
So, looking at the results between these two players historically, it's not looking all too pretty for SpeCial. Now, keep in mind, these stats go all the way back to 2015, which is apparently the first time that these two faced off against each other in an event. But Solar so far has a win rate of 93.6%.
Wow.
That is actually an incredibly high win rate.
That's
obviously
crazy.
The stats from that long ago may not be necessarily that relevant, but there's no denying that Solar has been, pretty successful for a very long time.
You know, one thing to keep in mind is, on the surface level, you might look at this and see it's really just kind of a Mexico versus Korea match here, but the reality is, SpeCial is almost always in Korea.
Yeah.
He basically lives in Korea, and so he's really more part of that Korean meta, right? He's always in the GSL. He's constantly meeting up with the other pros and hanging out, and so Solar definitely knows what SpeCial style is, and that's what's very important to note here. So, it does seem like that may be why SpeCial is playing a little bit off-brand Terran. Doing a lot more meching. Not that he didn't do that before, but he seems to have amped that up a little bit. The problem is that, these slower mech styles or accumulating battle cruisers, one of the issues is that, you don't really get to engage with the Zerg very quickly. And the thing about Solar is he's a Zerg that really knows how to cut corners. He knows how to crank out extra drones. He knows how to expand at an extremely quick rate. And I do wonder if there's going to be any way that SpeCial can punish a player that's going to be as crafty as Solar in a situation like that.
Yeah. Solar opening up with a spawning pool first, by the way. Now, luckily here for SpeCial, he did not just send in the Reaper, he also sent a SCV scout in front of it, which is very helpful, because otherwise those Zerglings, they will take a funny path towards the other side of the map, and sometimes they can kill the SCV that's building the command center. That can really hinder the Terran early game, but so far, everything is A-okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of a slower opening here. Terran going to continue to try to power up. This is a very big map, but it's worth pointing out that there is a pretty straight line that you can push across right in the middle. We're going to see this illustrated right here. And so a lot of times in this matchup, we do see that the Terran tends to be pressuring the Zerg at the third base that we're looking at right now. Funnily enough, the other bases are actually easier to take, and oftentimes you don't see anywhere near as much action. But I'm curious to see, if, assuming that SpeCial does push in this game, what it's going to be like. Again, he might do the mech style. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he's going to play that in the first place, right? So we've seen it quite a bit over the last couple of days. The Zergs initially were talking about the mech style, and they were like, we don't know what to do against it. And then earlier today, we had Raynor absolutely shutting it down with a Queen drop. Just one of those builds that you normally see in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, but he was bringing it out in Zerg versus Terran, because especially with Cyclone-based openers, you usually don't go into siege tanks particularly quickly, and it turns out Ravager Queen is a pretty good way of shutting it down, and there is Solar putting down a Roachworn at about 3.5 minutes. What are you making of that?
Yeah, it looks like a very, well, he certainly will have opportunities to try to be aggressive if he wants to. Sometimes you see the early Roachworn, and it's like they're just getting it in case they do feel like they're going to get forced into making roaches. But time will certainly tell. I mean, we do have the third command center coming along here, for SpeCial, and when you're doing something like that, if there is early aggression, it tends to work well against stuff like this, since the money going into the command center didn't go into, making more Marines or tanks or anything like that.
Yeah, Solar has a couple of Overlords coming up right now. He did not see those Marines, I don't think, so he doesn't really know exactly what he's playing against at this point. I think he's probably going to make a round of Roaches and then go back to droning, which is a style that we've seen quite a bit over the years. And this is, strong as well against early game aggression from the Terran player. But you do definitely want to deal a little bit of damage with an opener like this. So far, by the way, there's nothing special about SpeCial's playstyle.
No, not at all. In fact, this is looking very, very kind of generic, to be honest. But we are going to have a Roach Ravager rush here. The Roaches and Ravagers are going to get there, and then the Lings, they'll be hatching after that. They'll meet up there just in time. So the Lings are there to tank. The Roaches are going to be turned into Ravagers every time they take too much damage. With the patch, this is a little bit less effective, but the idea would still work.
Yeah, I think the original plan was to go back to droning, but then he saw it was a Raven. He's like, you know what? If you're not going for a Banshee, don't mind if I just follow this up with a bunch of Zerglings as well. He's already morphed in a couple of Ravagers. It's a really quick third command center from SpeCial. So at this point, the army supply count is not looking good here for the Terran player at all. And even the wall-off is not completed.
Yeah, the Lings are going to be able to get in here, but he does need to keep these Roaches together. I do like the idea of having the Hellions in the back to basically intercept the reinforcements.
Yeah, he's trying to get a little bit of damage done, right? Trying to kill as many SCVs as possible. You're looking for at least like 10.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get that number. I think he can continue to do some more damage here. He does drop a lot of SCVs, but the Roaches are not going to be able to get away. And there might be some counterplay now with these Hellions.
Yeah. And speaking of dropping things, he also decided to go into double factory right now on the back of it. So even though this was a pretty generic triple CC opener, he is going to be transitioning towards that Terran mech.
So another nice little drop in here. Going to take out a few more workers, but honestly, SpeCial's going to be hurting. That being said, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get in with more Roaches for a little bit.
No, I think that was really good actually for the Terran player, right? Especially since he didn't have his SCVs from the mineral line for all too long either, especially with a third CC opener. I think this is going to work out quite well right here for the Terran. Okay, getting a couple of drone kills here as well on the back of this.
It looks like he's going to chuck an auto turret down here, trying to take out a few more drones. And, you know, I actually thought that attack from Solar was going to do a little bit better, but it seems like SpeCial had a pretty cool tactic to basically thin out the Zerglings by staying behind there. He's going to come in again with these Lings, but look, I mean, the Hellions are in position now. We're getting to the point where we're going to have nicely upgraded both Hellions and Cyclones here, and I think it's going to be SpeCial's moment to try to push back.
There's the upgrades as well coming up for the Hellions and the Cyclones. Now Solar knows what he's playing against, and apparently he's trying to get the wraparound right now on all of those units. The Hellions, however, do fire before all of those Zerglings can get the connection. Now he's going to settle for a couple SCV kills right here, but this is not looking too hot for Solar at all, who's only at 36 workers.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, there's a lot of Lings coming down here. He's continuing to crank out more. I mean, these mech units are starting to thin out. Mech units don't make anywhere near as quickly as Marines, for instance. And the SCVs are beginning to fall again. It seems like there might just be too much weight here from Solar, and SpeCial may collapse.
The Blue Flame Hellions are going to be in this battle very shortly. The Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade does finish up, but you're right, 30 SCVs here. I wasn't sure how much he was going to get. That is certainly not bad at all. That one Raven, 14 kills in total.
I mean, this Raven's probably going to be living up in that corner of the map this entire game, just constantly putting auto turrets down there. Now, 30 SCVs is a lot. I don't know that there's going to be counterplay here from SpeCial. It just seems like he ended up getting enough Lings in there and things in the fight started to snowball. Had he not lost those 30 SCVs, he probably would just have died outright, so it's a necessary sacrifice. We've got more Lings coming. Solar's not interested in droning up. We're going to have another attack here from the Zerg very soon.
Yeah, and I feel like as time goes by, those attacks are not going to look any better for the Zerg. I mean, it's been relatively flimsy so far, relatively successful as well, but now he's playing against well-upgraded Cyclones and Hellions.
Okay, we see the Cyclones backing up now, and you know, he's gone around to the other side.
What about a couple siege tanks here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, I guess a Liberator can kind of sub in for that, but I think you're right. You know, not having siege tanks means that the Zerg doesn't have to respect your defenses at your natural. You can actually just take a fight.
These are these battles that we don't see all too often, right? They're difficult to predict as well. Zerglings right now coming around the back. There's no Hellions remaining with that group of Cyclones, so they're going to get picked off relatively easily. And what seemed initially like a pretty shaky attack is going to be a win right there for Solar. Throwing his fist on the table as well. I don't think he expected that.
Yeah, well, that was, you know, we don't really cast games like that. It was kind of a funny interaction. And honestly, for me, a little bit harder to follow than a lot of the other games we've had here at this event.
Normally, if it's like 32 SCVs versus like 36 drones and the Terran has like 3 mules mining, you're like, okay, this is not going to be too good for the Zerg.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, the thing about mech is that, you know, the pacing of how quickly units come out, it's a little bit different, right? So you start to drop a couple, and you don't have that, streamline of Marines constantly coming out to kind of buffer your defenses. So there's these moments in time where they can kind of get in and crack you wide open. SpeCial did go for 3 command centers and sent the Raven out across the map. So he really didn't have a lot to work with early on. I thought he might bounce back a little bit better, but I think Solar had the right idea to go all the way around the Hellions and just pick a fight actually at the natural. Then those mech units, they have to go back and defend, and that allows the Lings to then actually get all the way across the map and reinforce.
Yeah, what I really would have liked to see in that game was a Banshee or 2, maybe even after the Raven. There wasn't really a whole lot for the Zerg player to snipe those down, especially if you keep them defensively. They would have continuously dealt a lot of damage, and at the very least, they would have shut down that aggression that Solar was going for. He probably would have started droning. In the end, though, pretty cool game right there to start things out with. Very aggressive. We're talking about nice macro games before we got started today. Not the case, at least in game 1.
Yeah, this mech style, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, Loco, I mean, it's a new patch, right? But the issue is and look, maybe it's actually going to be really strong. Maybe all the Terrans just do it forever. I don't know. But right now, it doesn't seem like he's really ironed out all the wrinkles in the build order.
Right.
And Solar basically can just go full-on aggression mode and wipe him out.
Okay, we are loading into game number 2 of this best-of-3 series. It's going to take place on Royal Blood. We've seen quite a few games on this map as well over the last couple of days. Spawning right here in the top right-hand corner, the man who's been playing a lot of mech. We are looking at SpeCial's main command center.
And in the bottom left over here in the blue from Korea, our Zerg player already 1-0. Make some noise for Solar.
Awesome to see a lot of people already coming out. Apparently it's sold out, the event. Apparently we're going to see a lot more people as well over the next couple days, which will always be a lot of fun.
Oh.
This could also be a lot of fun, though.
By this very nice looking fountain, by the way.
Yeah. This fountain actually, like this choke point right next to it, it's very difficult to predict because you kind of imagine that this is actually a rather wide space.
Yeah.
But because of the fountain, it's, I don't know, it's like almost like a, like a graphical block almost, right? You look at that space, you're like, I've got a lot of room to maneuver, and it turns out, no.
So, I mean, I can't say I really blame SpeCial for trying this. He went for a macro game, and, in that last game, he never even got to do what he wanted to do. So he's going to do a very specific rush. Now, you can go for 2 barracks rushes, or you can go for 3 barracks rushes. And the reason why the 3rd barracks is not next to the first 2 is that if the Zerg spots this, he might not spot all of it. And therefore, he may miscalculate how much he needs to, Ling versus drone. And I think I saw this starting last year. Maybe it's happened a couple more times. All these games are kind of a soup in my brain right now. I've passed so many. But this is an extremely strong rush. That being said, it's hard to get back on your feet if the rush doesn't work. I mean, all of your infrastructure is on the Zerg side of the map. That being said, Solar... Oh, never mind.
Well, now he knows.
Now he knows.
Yeah, there's no reason for a bunch of those SCVs to be out here at this point in time. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Now it's a guessing game for Solar. He doesn't know if this is a double or a triple Rex, and he has to respond to this as if, I guess, whatever he assumes it is most likely. It's a bit of a difficult situation. Well, at the very least, the first Marines are getting some damage done. Yeah, this is looking really good right now for SpeCial.
Yeah, you can see he clearly wants to take this fight all the way back over here. We have 6 drones that have been killed off. But at the same time, he stops the bunker. And if the bunker isn't there, this rush just won't do anything. The spine crawler's about halfway finished. The Lings are going to generate a threat of a counterattack or just maybe coming in here from behind.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how far he's actually going to go with this Marine clump as well, right? The question is always as a Terran here, like, when do you stop making those bad boys? At some point, you'll usually have to fly these barracks back home. Well, Spinecrawler's already going to finish up. He denied a lot of mining time early on. He killed a whole lot of drones early on as well, but was that really enough?
Yeah, these SCVs are going to get back to where they need to be. The Marines have basically chased the Lings down. I actually think on paper this is just so much better for Solar, but let's see how the game pans out. I think SpeCial's got an interesting response as well. He's not even teching. He's just going to immediately throw down a command center. He does force another spine. This is normally a thing we talk about in StarCraft 1 games, but it's worth talking about in this game now. Every time you make a spine, you lose a drone. Okay, so it's a small form of pressure, but I don't know how many more spines you can realistically force out here. And honestly, making them spend 1 drone on a spine crawler, it's not that great, okay?
Yeah. Considering the opener, though, this is a relatively fast Zergling speed, and sometimes we see Terran players miscalculating that, right? Where they, you know, they assume, okay, Zergling speed is going to finish up at this and this and this time. Solar, yeah, he's going to finish it up momentarily, and if all of those Marines go down for free, I think he could be in a lot of trouble, especially since the command center is built on the low ground, and, well, there's not a whole lot of units ready to defend this. No bunker yet.
So he's sending 2 barracks back home, but he's going to force his way inside the natural and the main with the 3rd barracks. This is so that you at least have a very clear idea of what your opponent is going to try to do here. That was kind of a mistake there for Solar to come in like that. I mean, that was very quickly shot
I think
down.
he probably assumed it was just that first small group of Marines, but they just joined barely in time with the other Marines that were already in the natural. So SpeCial ends up being okay here. He's now actually going to go for triple CC as well.
Yeah, triple CC. I mean, I think this is fine. You know, you can't really muster an army. You're going to have all these extra minerals because you are mining on 2 bases. I do think that, unlike the first game, I don't think it's going to be as easy for Zerg to just bash down the Terran on the 3rd base like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, we're not going to see any starport play here just yet, but I don't think we're going to see a quick roach rush either. Solar now taking his own 3rd hatchery and losing a bunch of Zerglings for free. Now, of course, with an opener like this, you do know that, well, I guess theoretically you could still go into mech, but if you already have built 3 barracks, you will more often than not transition as well in towards that bio army. That's exactly what we have right now for SpeCial. Going for a tech lab, going for a reactor. And, well, I was going to assume that that was also going to be another tech lab right there on that barracks, but it's going to instead just produce a single Marine at a time out of it.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and get the factory down there. And, you know, I think this is a welcome switch in the unit composition coming from SpeCial. You know, that wacky mech style that he tried, I don't think he should try that anymore in this best of 3. It just, Solar doesn't seem to have any problems with it. I mean, that last game, SpeCial didn't even really get to the place in the game he wanted to be before his stuff would work. He was
That seems to be the trick. That seems to be the theme that we've seen today. Like, Zerg players are saying, yeah, it's really strong, but what if we just don't allow them to ever get there?
Yeah. What if we just start fighting him before
What if we just kill him early?
Before he could even get all that stuff out, that would be a headache and a menace in a later game. So, we've got this 3rd base coming here. Stim is going to finish. It's a little bit of a later stim, but you know what? That's fine because the Zerg was also slowed down in this rush as well.
Yeah, the lair only just now about halfway done as well. So this entire game, it's a little bit slower than what we normally see as far as those tech timings go. But SpeCial is definitely getting to the point, though, where he can start thinking about attacking. He fires up 1-1. Wouldn't be surprised if he waits until those upgrades are done before he really goes for an all-out assault. But we should be seeing medevacs shortly, and he'll probably use those to, well, fly around the map and see if he can deal some damage.
Yeah, SpeCial is extremely good at the classic style of TVZ, of, you know, just dropping everywhere, pushing. And, you know, this may kind of go into that traditional direction of Zerg taking a 4th base, Terran going to push right about when the 4th base finishes, and it's one of the most straightforward textbook ways that a Zerg loses the game, is you basically stop them from getting their 4th, like, 2 or 3 times, and by then the Zerg isn't able to kind of keep developing.
A little bit of first-person view right now as we see exactly what SpeCial is looking at while he's playing this game. The graphics, of course, are a little bit uglier, but therefore the frame rate is a little bit better. And obviously, you don't have any additional clutter in a game.
Yeah, they play on this setting because it's very easy to see everything that you need to see. You know, you're not so much sucked into the fantasy part of the game and the doodads and the little animations. But it is very bare bones, you're right. So we have right now some roaming going on. You can see, actually, SpeCial is very concerned of a counterattack. He's let his army pool up over there at the entrance. But he is sending the rest of his infantry out here to try to merge up with this. Looks like he's going to drop actually quite a lot of infantry. Almost, yeah, actually a whole medevac's worth of infantry. Oh my God. Whoa, big kill there by SpeCial. He got all those Banes.
Yeah, that was actually really nicely done right there. It seemed like a mistake, but I think he was trying to bait his opponent deep off creep, and if that was the case, well, he got what he wanted. Now Baneling speed finishes up. You were talking about it, man. This 4th hatchery, and it's in a lot of trouble, and it will go down. This is fantastic right here for the Terran player, because Well, without a fourth base, where exactly are you going to make the units from?
I mean, that was a huge play to snipe those Banelings. Those Banelings were there to stop specifically this. Baneling speed is done, but I think SpeCial's decided he can go ahead and peace out. Actually, no, he's going to go dive into the main.
Nah,
or not.
just flying.
I think he once
a luxury trip right there for those Marines.
Once he realized that he couldn't land anywhere comfortable enough to get everything out because of the placement of the spore, he decides to back out. But, you know, that's the first step in just a few more that are needed for the Terran to win the game. He shut down the fourth base. That means Terran and Zerg are even in bases, which means the Zerg is technically behind because the Zerg should always be ahead in bases versus both a Terran and a Protoss.
Yeah, now it's an awkward moment, right, where you have 83 workers. Like, he did save the vast majority of those, so that's really nice. Okay, he gets a nice connection over there as well. But this, yeah, becomes a little bit difficult right now for Solar, who's trying to slowly transition towards that Hydralisk Ling Bane army. Very powerful, of course, but you really do want to run that force off of, well, at least an 80 worker economy, right? He's got the workers, but not the mineral fields.
So, right now, SpeCial doesn't really have to do much of anything. I mean, you know the Zerg's going to try to go ahead and grow again and expand again. And so you wait for the hatchery to finish because that's the longest it's gone. It's, you know, the drones are going to be transferred out, but that's usually the best time to come in there and hit it. It's either right before it finishes or right as it finishes. And that means that now you're going to try to come in here and take this out right before the Zerg can get any extra minerals from it.
So he's going very Marauder heavy right now as well, which is pretty good against the Banelings. How do you feel about the Widow Mines, especially against Hydraling Bane?
Well, I don't think they're going to be helpful against the Hydras. I don't know how many Hydras are actually out right now. I think it's mostly Ling Bane, Hydras.
It's a small group at this point, but it's one of those things where I feel like siege tanks would work out quite a little bit better.
Yeah, I think you might be right, but I guess, you know, the mines they could set up a little bit more quickly. They're going to come up here, and that's a big shutdown. And, you know, I don't know if this was a moment that SpeCial should have split up his army. He has half of his army on the left side, half on the right over here, and it looks like he's kind of losing on both fronts. I feel like especially after you kill that first hatchery, you have the lead. Like, let's get the killing blow in here. You have a bigger army.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, you know, all over the map doing all this crazy stuff. If you've already slowed down his growth, then mathematically you should actually be at a point where you can keep everything together and then try to get that killing blow off, and that would be destroying the fourth hatchery again. In this case, the fourth hatchery is now being mined from. I think Solar's back on his feet, Loco.
Yeah, Solar is probably feeling a whole lot better about this than like 2 minutes ago. He is now arriving at Hive Tech as well very soon. He's going to go into that Lurker Den, and as soon as Lurkers hit the battlefield, it's going to be very difficult for SpeCial to continue playing this tempo style that he's been focusing on. Now, that said, he does have the potential for a killer push with 2-2 finishing up right now. Drop in the main base, or, well, right over there. I think that was the natural gets cleaned up by the Zerg, as it also ends up killing the Medevac. Now that...
Oh, I like the placement of those Widow Mines. That's actually pretty cool.
They've been betraying that Terran army here. At least there's a lot of Medevacs, but there's about as many Medevacs as there are Terran units on the ground. Army on the left, though, kills another hatchery. If he can kill one more over here in the center of the map, we're back to what you were talking about, right? That 3-base Zerg economy.
Yeah, he still has that fourth up. And by the way, SpeCial now on 4 bases. He's expanded up into 12 o'clock. SpeCial getting some really, really good exchanges here, like really getting value out of every time he attacks. Solar's actually down to like 140 supply, and SpeCial's almost maxed out.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those Terran units blow up, right? Either with Banelings or with Widow Mines, but in the end, he still has a lot more, well, just stuff than the Zerg player has, and he's going to use it to continuously push down this army. There it is. GG is called as the score gets evened up.
Yeah, nicely done there by SpeCial. Look, I mean, he did that proxy racks. I think Solar shut it down very, very well, but the most important moment in that game was when SpeCial sniped down what I think was about 6 Banelings off of creep.
Yeah, it almost seemed like he was feigning, like, oh no, I'm just wandering around with my Marines. And then, you know, he got the Marines to clean up those Banelings right before Baneling speed finished up.
Yeah, it was a cool moment, and it then opened up this really great opportunity to slam the fourth base. You know, SpeCial, I was worried when we saw like his army split in half, part on the left, part on the right. I thought, oh, this could be, you could actually lose both of those in bad engages, and you know, then Zerg's just going to dominate. But he came out on top. But of course, that game started out very weird, even though it ended in a kind of normal, classic fashion. I don't think SpeCial can hide barracks again, right? I mean,
No, I don't think he's going to do the exact same build order once more.
I wonder if we
I
end
don't
up with
even
a
think the
game.
build was really that successful for him either, right?
Yeah, no, you know, some games you have builds that win, other times it's other circumstances. I mean, that was really won off the back of a tactic in the map, in the middle of the map, excuse me. But let's see. Looks like we're going to be ready now to go into our game number 3 and find out who is going to be the victor in this best of 3 with SpeCial versus Solar.
The map is going to be Babylon. Very pretty looking map.
Yeah, looks like that map's going to be loading up right now. And I'm almost wondering if SpeCial's just going to go for kind of a standard, like 3 command center, Marine, tank, you know, the very classic TVZ style here. I guess we're going to find out because we're now in our game. Down here in the bottom right in the red from Mexico, he is SpeCial.
And his opponent in the top left, playing with the blue Zerg pieces, make some noise for Solar. Looked focused, as ever. Yeah, it's really difficult to predict this game right now, right? When it just comes down to a single map, especially when the strategies have been as varied as we've seen so far. It's really difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen in this game. I mean, I wouldn't honestly be too surprised if we're going to see a little bit of that battle mech once again, but maybe that's because I like seeing it. Maybe a little bit of bias coming in.
Yeah, whenever they have these weird unit compositions, I'm like, oh, well, am I going to learn something? Yeah, please teach me. And, you know, especially when you're at, you know, the tournament to declare who's the best in the world, right?
Right.
Which is what we're here for.
Ooh.
You really got to go with not necessarily what is the strongest style of play, but what you think is going to let you win in that game in that moment. And so this time we've got 2 barracks, but
Yeah.
at the natural.
This is one of those funny openers that's like a quote-unquote proxy, right? I know that Mr. Björn is a big fan of this. I've seen Maru play it a lot. Basically, all the Korean Terrans are a big fan. Even though SpeCial is from Mexico, he spends a lot of time.
He's basically a Korean Terran.
Yeah. He's been spending like the last 80% of his time, I think.
Yes.
Over the last decade in Korea. And some of the strategies have definitely rubbed off on him as well. This is one of those openers where like you're going for, well, a bunch of Reapers in the early game. You're not really necessarily expecting to do a lot of damage, but sometimes you can deal a bunch of damage. And then you, on top of that, have also a beautiful wall off. With a situation like this, if Zerg decides to get really aggressive, you can make like a bunch of bunkers behind those depots as well. There's really nothing that can really kill you here.
Yeah, it's a build order that basically allows you to, the moment there's counterattacks, you turn that off. You just close up the entrance and you're fine. Of course, you are losing some time with that Reaper having to travel all the way across the map. This was scouted, and so Solar's going to know what's coming. We want to watch the first couple Reapers very carefully to see if there's any damage that he might be able to snowball in this game.
Okay, trying to get one drone, not getting it just yet. A lot of chaos can oftentimes also be enough. For example, this is usually the point in the game where Solar is thinking about making a 3rd hatchery. It can be quite difficult for him right now to find his pacing, find his footing in a game like this, right? And that's really what you're trying to achieve here as a Terran. Try to throw the Zerg player off. And luckily for him, he didn't forget about the 3rd hatchery, but sometimes you can be like, oh, what's going on right now? There's a couple of, he's making 2 Reapers at once. Not supposed to happen at this point in the game. I guess I'm going to delay my 3rd. Anyways, good surround right here, though, by the Zerg, those grenades. They were excellent, too.
That was, I almost didn't catch that he put those grenades up there. That was very cool. What's most important when you follow this rush is that none of the Reapers die. Because since they regen so quickly, once they heal back up, another opportunity is going to open up here.
Oh, getting a creep tumor would be really sweet, and he does get that one. Okay.
Great control there.
Yeah, not a whole lot of damage done by SpeCial, but getting that creep tumor is nice, right? Even if it's just for the mental advantage, I always kind of feel like that first creep tumor is like, you're almost married to that one, man.
It is a moral victory. So I got to praise SpeCial here because I think a lot of other players would have stayed on Reapers a little bit longer. He knew immediately when to stop.
Yeah.
He pumped the brakes super hard, threw down the tech lab, threw down the reactor. And you know, that's very important because anytime you're making Reapers out of those barracks, you're not making Marauders, you're not making Marines, and frankly, as we all know, Reapers are pretty useless after the first couple minutes of the game. It's hard to find any functionality with them. They die to everything else in the game. They're bad units, effectively. So that means that SpeCial's going to have more Marines, he's going to have more Marauders coming out here, which ultimately means he'll have a healthier push later on.
You know, a theme so far in SpeCial's games that we've seen over the last couple days is that over the last, I want to say like 7-8 years, ever since Legacy of the Void came out, we've established a standard for this matchup, right? As to like what Terran players do most of the time and what is strong against the average strategy that Zergs can go for as well. SpeCial is not going for any of the established normal openers. None of that like barracks into a bunch of Hellions. Well, maybe he did that in game number 1, but then with a really quick third command center and followed it up with mech. He's playing it a little bit differently than pretty much everybody else out there. Now those Reapers, though, are going to come back in. They're going to get a couple of workers here. Yeah, like you said, they're kind of pointless at this point.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, it's actually pretty good to get the 2 drones. I mean, he just knows it's literally better to throw those in there and try to kill drones to free up supply.
But how do you feel about Banshees together with Stimpak at this point? That is a bit funny to me.
I wonder if he could basically set up a situation where the Banshee can hit the workers in the main and draw some queens away, and then he can push down at the bottom, like the 3rd or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm also, we need to see when he sends the Banshees in, because sometimes they'll wait until they have 2 Banshees, since that can one-shot a worker. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I think we've already seen, you know...
Yeah, it's not something you expect, right? It's the Zerg right now. You'd imagine that those Marines are going to get some backup as well in the form of medevacs.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's going to be a one-way trip, I guess, for those Marines.
Yeah.
Don't know if they are aware, but...
That being said, you know, if he gets the Banshees out, he doesn't kill anything, and then he's just down on medevacs, that's a problem as well.
Yeah, Lair's finishing already.
So we've got the 2 E-Bays coming down here. It does look like there's going to be a minor upgrade lead for a while here for Solar. He's going to have that armor, which is going to be very handy.
Yeah, I think the Lair is going to be helpful here to deal with those Banshees, right? Because they do have the cloaking upgrade, and at this point there's no other form of detection. There should be decent amounts of queens available. He's got to be wondering, though, okay, where exactly did those Marines go as we have a look at the first-person view right here of the Zerg. So he did go for Baneling Speed, by the way. It's going to be a little while until that's done.
Yeah, and really when Baneling Speed comes, that's when it's a whole new level of respect the Terran has to show to the Zerg, because it is much easier to misclick and just have your entire army disappear.
So this is the very first time that he sees the Banshee. Well, at the very least, he sees his drones dying. The second Banshee joins in as well as 1 Queen goes down. At the same time, there's that army you were talking about. It's not headed to the 3rd, but it's going to go to the 4th base instead. Still a pretty dang good fight, though. Now the Banelings are coming in from the back as well. That was an excellent fight right there from Solar, considering that he had no idea that was coming.
I mean, if you don't have medevacs, you can't pick up those units. I mean, this is what makes Terran so incredibly strong, is a combination of the medevacs with the infantry, because if you see any moment that you can do damage, you can kill off whatever you get and then get out unscathed and then relocate for a new fight. When you just have a ground army, I mean, if the Zerg's ready for it, like, can you imagine if this game existed and there were not medevacs?
Right, exactly.
How unforgiving it would be for the Terran.
Yeah, I wonder if those 2 Banshees justified the lack of medevacs right here, because like 20 Marines ended up going down because of it. The Banshee pilots here not aware of what they have indirectly caused.
Got some tongue moves there, SpeCial. That's the gamer face right there, man.
He's going to come in again from that same position here up north.
Yeah. I've seen many players stick their tongues out in matches. I've never seen someone stick their tongue out that far, though. That's a new record for me. Some Banes are going to come in here now, and looks like they will actually connect on these SCVs.
8 workers end up going down to Siege Tank helping out. Medevac drop inside of the main base, trying to just get as much value as possible. I was going to say, he needs to pick up as quickly as possible as well. I was trying to say multiple words at once. Turns out kind of hard.
SCVs are going to be transferred back over here. The command center is going to be, the 4th command center, excuse me, is going to be finishing up here. Solar's now going to be on 5 bases. This base at the bottom left is one of the harder bases to really get access to. And Solar's also starting to really pick up pace here in supplies. I'm a little bit worried here because SpeCial is low, enough in army supply. I don't know if he can really get much done right now. And so we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen. I do think SpeCial needs to focus a little bit more on trying to get a few more command centers up here, because otherwise he's not going to be able to sustain.
Yeah, it looks like we are setting ourselves up for a pretty big macro game. That being said, SpeCial really needs to fire up the +2 infantry weapons here. He went for the armor upgrade, but not the weapons. That is usually the more important one, obviously. There's a lot of action right now on the map. He's trying to deal as much damage as possible. But you cannot forget about these upgrades.
All right, these lings are going to come down here and just clean that up, dropping just a few Marines here. There's a drop inbound. I don't know that Solar saw this. This might have been just a weird enough angle with those leaves moving away. I think it might have just been out of vision because this base in the bottom left looks pretty exposed.
Hive is going to finish up here momentarily as well for the Zerg player, so he can transition maybe even towards Ultralisks. We've seen that quite a bit over the last couple of weeks once again. A unit that wasn't popular for many years, and I think in a situation like this, it would be really quite nice to have. I don't believe he's made a Hydra den, so Lurkers are very unlikely. Ultras will, more often than not be the answer here. Probably combined with a few Vipers.
Well, and once you have the Ultras, then you really have the staying power in these fights, you know. I mean, they get so tanky, and obviously the Ultralisks are improved now. They're way less clunky than they were in the previous patch. Nice usage there of those Banes. SpeCial is on 4 bases. We have, what is it? I think it's 6 bases soon here for Solar. So, I mean, this is getting a little bit ridiculous, and I'm starting to worry that, you know, with the creep spread could be better, by the way, but it is enough to where it's, like, hard to push into anything.
Yeah, I love how critical we've become on creep spread. We're like, you know what?
Yeah.
He's only covered about 70% of the map.
He doesn't even have the whole map yet.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, though. Especially in the top section of the map, it does look a little bit skinny right there. Anyways, the medevac drops continue, but they are slowly being shut down as those spore crawlers, right? They constantly move them around. That's the thing the Zergs have been doing over the last couple of years, where you knew where the spore crawler was at, now I'm going to just randomly move it somewhere else.
Yeah, they shuffle it around so that way, you know, any intel you had there, you can't set up for a better drop the next time around. So Terran is maxed out, which means Terran has to push. We've got a drop coming in here to try to get the Zerg into a bad position. Meanwhile, this push is coming up here, and you know, these Widow Mines are not burrowing in time.
Oh, pretty good detonations right there, though, on the left of that battle. Forced to reinforce this with Zerglings for now. That siege tank on the right having a grand old time as well. Love the Widow Mines right next to that siege tank as well, as SpeCial is just constantly poking at this base. And at this rate, he's going to get it.
Yeah, what was the deal with those 3 queens that just ran up there and got obliterated? He's going to come in there again, and he looks like he has an overseer over that, so he can take those Widow Mines out. I think that Terran might actually have enough to just snipe this down. The Banes are going to come forward once more. You know, if he had more tanks back here...
Oh, that's bait! That's bait! Oh my god! Those couple of Widow Mines right next to the siege tank got so much value. In the end, though, there's enough Zerg to push all of this back, but not before another massive Widow Mine hit.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. He did manage to take that out very nicely. And so, you know, Solar is going to go unimpeded here as far as growth is concerned. Now, we've got another command center being floated towards the upper right. It's going to be a while before it can actually land over there. And we should also take note that there's not that many more bases Zerg can take. We could go into a split map game where Terran just wants to turtle and try to soak up their resources.
There was a fight happening over here as well, but it looks like the reinforcing Terran army managed to clean that up. You know what? I'm a little bit concerned for a potential Ghost transition, right? I feel like we needed that a little while ago. He's still stuck on relatively low-tech units, but now the Ultras are hitting the battlefield, and what exactly is going to be the answer to those?
Okay, these Banes are cleaning up over here. The Marines are not quite split that well. It looks like Terran's going to be able to push the Zerg back a little bit. Suddenly more units coming up here from the bottom. And was that actually an overextension? We're going to find out as Terran's going to try to come up here and push in this base up at 12 o'clock.
Chitinous is not done yet, right? So you see that upgrade finishing right there on the right side of the screen? That's the Ultralisk armor improvement, and without it, those units are pretty much pointless. He needs to get him in right now. Well, finally the upgrade finishes, and the Widow Mines, once again, I feel like they've been betraying the Terran army quite a bit.
Okay, he forces a pick up here, and right now I think that the Zerg really wants to go to this top right location here and try to take that base on, but Solar needs to be careful not to overextend. Overextending is the worst thing you can do in these moments because it's going to open up another situation where Terran can push in once more.
I'm very interested in the way that SpeCial has been playing so far in this tournament, man. He now decides to go for Liberators as soon as he sees the Ultras. Not usually what we see Terran players at this level do, as once again, by the way, the Zerg army just keeps on piling forward. The creep in this area, you brought it up early, it isn't that great, and he's been pushing for so long that it's never been replaced either. The bottom of the map is fine, but the top of the map is super empty.
Okay, another very nice takedown there of that. And remember that this base in the upper right, I mean, there's a planetary there, but it's kind of far away from everything. It's very far removed. If SpeCial gets knocked off of that, the only other place he could expand to would be this location right down here. in the bottom, but it's already got creep there. We don't see anything there to clean that up.
SpeCial's looking really good right now, Tasteless. I mean, the fact that he is in this situation is very impressive. I mean, he's once more pushing up that ramp. Every fight he does over here seems to go decently well for him. That being said, though, this one might be a little bit different as he's forced to evacuate once again. He kind of relies on those really, really big Widowmine hits, and actually, I think that's a base that just went down there. Is that what we just had going down there? Yeah, it's a Fukumen Center. That sucks.
Yeah. You know, SpeCial keeps pushing out, but he doesn't seem to be taking out any key targets. Like, you want to be killing hatcheries right now. He keeps going out there, and, like, he doesn't always lose all the fights terribly, but he's also not making any headway here.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the fact that he's going for Liberators rather than Ghosts. I feel like Ghosts still have so much value at this stage in the game, but yeah, he's going very Marauder, Liberator heavy, I think, to try and deal with those Ultras. Now, are Corruptors coming up? Is there already a Greater Spire? Have we seen a Greater Spire on the...
Oh, I didn't actually see.
No, we have not. So it's just going to be a couple Corruptors, I think, to deal with some of those flying units.
Yeah, those Corruptors are going to be hatching now. I really do like the Liberator being sent down here to basically interrupt mining at these bases that otherwise would go, you know, unhindered.
He's been trying to kill this base for the better part of 5 minutes. He's been trying to close the distance. But yeah, you're very right. He hasn't really been making a lot of headway. He is, however, killing a ton of drones once again, but he's kiting backwards every single time we look up north. And not really making a lot of progress in that department, right?
Yeah, Solar's going to try to come through here, but, you know, with these planetaries, it's kind of tough to actually take this out. Oh, is
interesting way of playing it.
I don't know about this. He's like,
yeah,
I guess he can target this down. Okay, this actually worked out really well.
Oh, get it. If he doesn't get it, that would be a disaster. Okay, he does get it. Now the units, though, are kind of cornered. I don't exactly see how this Ultra army is going to easily be able to get out of there. Well, apparently with the help of Links and Banes, you go quite far. You know what, those Corruptors, they've killed all of the Metavex. Without Metavex, how are you going to heal up this army?
Yeah, it looks like the Ultras, I can't believe that second one is going to get away. I love this little attack down here as well.
He still has a lot of money in the bank, especially this. If you look at the supply counts right now, they're looking excellent here for the Terran player, but it would be even more excellent. Excellent if we did have that entire bank spent. He's going to be able to get there over the next couple of minutes.
I mean, 32 drones have been killed off here. I think SpeCial's starting to do it. I think he's caused just enough mayhem on the map. He's going to take out this space over here.
Play.
Yeah, this has been really incredible. This kind of mass marauder. You know,
yeah, just the cost-efficient traits the entire time, right? I guess that's what he's aiming for, and then eventually Zerg mines out.
I guess, you know, the Widow Mines take out the Lings, and then the Marauders are beefy enough to take on the Ultralisks. And, you know, the Corruptors is too little too late. He's going to drop that there, too.
Wow,
right,
very impressive game right there from SpeCial. I think it said 11 wins in a row previously for Solar. Well, apparently that streak has been stopped.
We've got so many